They said there's no doubt you'll surely lose. Go ahead and sing your tune. We didn't listen, stayed right on the truth. And now we're on the right side of the news.
Yep.
Good morning, right side of the news. I'm Nick Gardner. I've got Leslie Sawyer here co-hosting. We're working early in the morning because Leslie's got to run down to Los Angeles real early. So Doug's not here with me. I did send him an email. I hope he doesn't show up at 8:30 thinking we were going on. We've got that out of the way. Let's talk about, what do you want to talk about? Anything? Here, I found something on the internet yesterday that really seals the deal on the wind turbines. I'm going to read it to you. Wind turbines, windmills, are the ultimate in embedded cost and environmental destruction. Each weighs 1,688 tons, the equivalent of 23 houses, and contains 1,300 tons of concrete, 195 tons of steel, 48 tons of iron, 24 tons of fiberglass, and the hard-to-extract rare earth minerals that I can't even pronounce. Each blade weighs 8,100 pounds and will last 15 to 20 years, at which time it will be replaced and we cannot recycle the blades. Solar panels are just like wind turbines. They have a dark side. Like all tech manufacturing, solar panels require raw resources and are composed primarily of a special kind of silica. But produced in giant furnaces, the process consumes lots of energy, especially long-term mass production. So, that seals the deal. Can you imagine how much fossil fuels it takes to manufacture all those ingredients that go into a green turbine, a windmill, that doesn't produce enough energy to keep us going?
Right. Yet across the state, we're pulling hydroelectric out because they say it's not a renewable and green resource.
Yes, I know Doug Jinke and I on Poke the Hornet's Nest, we've covered this numerous times, but this got right down to the nitty gritty and told you exactly how much is being used.
Well, and it tells you. It's special interest groups. It's these big corporations. There's probably so much government funding that goes into the production of those. And how much does it really cost to produce all of that? It's probably a fraction of what we pay.
But you use government funding that goes into those. Taxpayer funding would be a better word.
Oh, 100%.
We should start referring to government spending as taxpayer spending so people realize.
I forget that not everybody's wired like us to know that that's what that means.
My little granddaughter asked me for some money last year for basketball expenses, and I gave my son $200, and he pushed a button, and it was in her mother's account. This year, she hit me up again, and I'm glad to give it to her. She bought her a special pair of shoes. But I sent her a letter with two $100 bills in it. And I said, I want you to understand that somebody worked hard for this money, that you don't just punch a button and get it. She's 12, and I hope she realized that.
Yeah.
And that's what people don't realize when you say government spending. No, it's taxpayer spending.
Right. And that's why my skin crawls just as much. Last night, they were talking about the new parks that they want to build at the city of Redding, right?
Yes.
And they're talking about, we already have the $23 million in the bank, and we are getting this grant funding for the other however much. And grant funding is still money that comes out of our pockets.
Taxpayer funding.
Yeah.
It's not grant, it's taxpayer funding. We send our taxes to Sacramento, and then we have to ask for them back. And if they approve how we're going to spend it, they give it to us. That just leaves a sour taste in my mouth.
Right, because my question to one of the council members was, if we can spend this amount of money on it, why don't we just not put in a new park that we're not going to be able to upkeep and spend that money, our taxpayer dollars, on renovating something we already have, something that's already failing. If it has to go to parks, why can't we pour it into existing ones that are crumbling?
Absolutely. You know, it's interesting to watch how the McConnell Foundation has taken over the Civic Auditorium. That's going to be the final resolution to the problem with the Civic Auditorium.
Do you think that's where it's headed?
Oh, yes.
Well, 'cause
Absolutely.
I see that it went from they're paying $5,000 a month to it's going to be $113,000 a month that the city's going to have to pay to upkeep that. It's insanity.
Oh, yeah. It's going to cost a fortune just to mothball it.
You know what the problem was? You're paying a nonprofit to run something.
And all the employees are making a big profit.
Yeah, anytime. I mean, so many of these nonprofits, it's just a giant money hole.
Oh, yeah, that's absolutely what it is. You know, before Advance Reading took it over, we had a Reading tourist, panel group. And Bob Warren, no relation to Mike Warren, of course, the way he spent money, he probably was his cousin. He went all over the country. They gave him a special trailer and a car and a couple $100,000 a year, maybe not quite that much, to go around and promote the Civic Auditorium here in Reading. And they had about 3 concerts a year. So I will say about Advance Reading, they did bring a lot of shows in that we hadn't had before.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, and I mean, the outside concert venue it's a decent idea. I think if you're still charging that much per ticket, it needs to be something a lot nice. I could have gone to a concert in Corning at Rolling Hills for half that price.
they've got another place in Lincoln. I forget the name of it, and they get some pretty good concerts.
Yeah, out
there.
in Wheatland. Used to be Toyota Amphitheater. Now it's something else. I don't know.
Yeah, I see it advertised. I've never gone to one.
Yeah.
Concerts don't interest me all that much. I used to volunteer at the Cascade Theater before the Liberals fired me. I consider that a badge of honor. Susan Wilson was one of the people upstairs. I found out what kind of person she was when I had to work with her a couple of times.
Susan Wilson, the same one that took money from Shasta Youth Options?
That's it, you know, and I'm afraid that they're going to sit on that case till the time runs out. I'm assured that Stephanie Bridget is looking at it and wants to prosecute. But, you know, just like Lisa Jensen, you know, well, we haven't got the toxicity reports back yet.
Even though they were done in Reading within 24 hours.
Yeah, and they
I
can
found
do
that
them
out during pretrial.
They can do them in about a half hour if you get picked up. You're a normal person.
But when I did the request for information to the DA on that case and said, why is it taking over a year to prosecute? Oh, it could take up to 18 months to get the results back from Sacramento. But then in the pretrial hearing to find out if it was enough to go to trial, the lab expert or the lab worker expert, whatever you want to call her, testified that she did the test in Reading within like that week or that month, or I don't know, I don't have my notes in front of me.
Well, it's just double standards is
Right.
what it is. They were going to let it run out and just forget about it, hopefully. And it took citizens' pushback, I suspect, to get it in front of the people to make them prosecute. The same thing happened with, is going to happen with Susan Wilson. I'm trying to get the case number because I believe citizens should call up and tell the district attorney, we want this prosecuted.
Yeah.
You know, there's double standards. Alan Long, in my opinion, got double standards when he beat up them kids out
Love
there.
that you brought that up yesterday at the board meeting.
You know, I didn't know it, but he had busted one of those kids' ribs. I just suffered a busted rib, and it's not pleasant, I'll tell you. And I went to ShastaAnon.com this morning and watched the video again, and there's a newspaper clip in there, and I froze it on that newspaper clip. And what the newspaper said is Alan hid out waiting for them kids. Now, I was told by another source that there was another police officer there. I don't know whether that's true or not. And then that source told me that he broke the kid's ribs, a 15-year-old kid. In fact, the newspaper clip said 2 of the kids were transported to the hospital. And Alan Long come around. The way I'm reading it, the kids were on the ground and he kicked them and threatened to kill them. And so what would happen if I did that at my house? I believe the police were, well, I believe they would have written me up, and I believe I would have been prosecuted. Because when I had an attempted home invasion at my house, a guy was going to spray me with bear spray, and I met him at the door with a gun, and he changed his mind. And the police were there. I got to give the sheriff's credit. They were there in 5 minutes, and they hauled him away. They charged him with not obeying court orders. He's gonna home invade me and spray me with bear spray and take over. But the only question they asked me was whether I pointed the gun at him. And what could become of that answer? I didn't point the gun at him. I had it about 6 inches to his right, to where I've just got to bring it up and pull the trigger if I have to. Thankfully, I didn't have to. I don't want to have to shoot somebody. But I suspect they would have maybe investigated, thought about charging me with brandishing a firearm.
Right.
And I believe that if it would have been you or I protecting our home that's being built, that they would have probably prosecuted us for something.
Well, and we've seen that. Who's the gentleman in Cottonwood who had people coming onto his property over and over and over, and then they came on and they were being forceful, and he shot up into the air or something? Do you remember that? It was
No, I
about
don't.
2 years ago. And they did. They got him with, dangerous discharge of a firearm and brandishing a weapon.
That bullet could have come down and hit somebody in the head in Reading from Cottonwood. You know how far a bullet goes. That's attempted assault on an anonymous citizen.
If you would have listened to the public comment during the Patrick Jones gun range cases, those bullets, did you know they travel like 67 miles to... Yeah.
Patrick is an asset to our community.
He's done a lot.
He has, and he brings up other things that you didn't know. I've got a friend of mine who is in a 2/3 half stage of dementia, and he owns some guns. And he's got a couple of kids that are felons, and one is actually a criminal. And I got concerned what's going to happen to them guns when he dies, which could happen tomorrow or it could happen 2 years from now. And I approached him and talked to him about it and told him I was going to go talk to Patrick about what could be done. And Patrick said, we do this all the time. We will go out. You can go with us if you want to, Nick. We'll inventory those guns. We'll tell him we can take care of all the paperwork, the registration and everything. We'll tell you what they're worth, and we'll sell them on consignment, or we'll write you a check for them right now. So if anybody has that problem, Jones Fort, Patrick Jones, that's the place to go.
Yeah, absolutely. I know when I got divorced and I was moving out on my own, the first purchase that I made was I went to Jones Fort and I paid for my CCW and I bought a cute pink gun. I've since, put it in an auction with a bunch of ammo for one of our local political candidates, and I found a smaller, cuter gun that I want. But, that was my first purchase, was if I'm going to be a single mom, I need to have good protection that I'm comfortable using and take the class that teaches me how to use it, and,
Absolutely. Anymore you just can't start screaming and fighting and citizens will come to your rescue because you don't know what you're getting into.
Yeah.
I recall one time I was doing the windows on South Market Street, just before you get to where Pasta Pronto was, and this gal stopped on the side of the road, and one gal jumped out, an older gal. She looked like she was about 60 or 70. She was probably 40, obviously a tweaker. Jumped out of the car and started running off with the keys, and this little girl, she was only 19 or 20, started screaming, "She's running away with my keys, help, help." Well, this gal come running at me, and I stood sideways with a stick I was using, a pole to wash windows, and she went around me out into traffic, and a car had to stop to keep from hitting her, and she kept going. I told that little girl, I says, "Get in my pickup, we'll chase her." So "Oh, that's my mom. It'll be okay. My dad will bring me some more keys." Now, where would I be if she'd have got hit by a car? It makes you afraid to get involved. You don't know what's going on anymore.
I love that you said that with the stick, like you were trying to stop her with the stick.
Well, I had it sideways so she
Yeah.
couldn't get past me.
We, my friend and I are coaching 5-year-olds in cheerleading right now. It's quite entertaining. It's kind of like herding cats.
Oh, yeah.
And her daughter stands there and we're doing the arm motions and, you know, you stick your arms out straight and make a T shape. And she goes, "You also do this when a boy runs past you on the playground."
Yeah, I got a kick out of my little granddaughter last summer. I took her shooting 22, showed her how to load them and how to safely use them and how to aim. She's 12. But when we first got there, I says, "You ever shot guns?" "I've got my own gun." I says, "Really? What is it?" "Well, it's a 20. I says, "A 22? "Yeah, that's what it is." I said, "What kind of gun is it, Riley?" She says, "It's pink."
That was mine. Mine was pink as well.
I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah.
Well, when she left, she knew how to load 3 different kinds of guns. She knew how to muzzle control, that she's responsible where the muzzle's pointing. Gun is always loaded, and she could hit the target really
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, my dad's always been really good about making sure once the kids are the right age, they all know how to do that. He taught all of us. You know, I owned multiple guns before I moved out, but I, you know, signed a thing. As soon as our son comes to age, he can have all those ones. I don't even want to fight over it, you know, but
Yeah.
yeah. I
Right.
agree, though. Mine was a pink one. We're girls. That's...
Yeah, but you as a single mom, you've got to protect yourself, and you can't depend on a citizen coming to help anymore because you might be in the same situation I caught myself in.
Hey, I will say, and I got to give a shout out where shout outs are due. We have some citizens. We have people like Jesse Lane who are everyday heroes. You know, during the flooding, he was helping all kinds of families, going out, moving trees, doing. I dropped my keys down a storm drain. I didn't know that was possible. I didn't know, you know, and I'm walking, I'm carrying a bunch of stuff. My 5-year-old's got her Chick-fil-A because that's all that matters.
Yeah.
And I trip, drop my keys. They go straight down the storm drain.
And profanity didn't even help.
And it did not help at all. So I pull off the manhole cover, fully expecting my keys to be like washed down the Sacramento River. This is my deep knowledge of how these things work. No, it's just 10 feet down in an empty hole, right? So I call Jesse and I'm like, "I am literally a damsel in distress." And Josie's screaming, "We're homeless. We're stuck outside and we're homeless." As she's eating her Chick-fil-A. You know, she's got it real rough.
That's right. You know, I heard him on the radio. I think it was Pete Peters or Kelly Frost show now. Freedom in Action. I've never met him. I've heard of him, and I've heard him speak a time or two. And he sounds like he'd be a great supervisor.
You know, he considered running.
I believe he said he's consider running now.
Well, that's when I said he's considered. He was considering for this term, but decided that Kevin Cry, you know, even if you don't agree with every single thing that he's done, is doing what needs to be done. And that would be the district he would be running in.
Oh,
And
I
so-
thought he'd be against Plummer. Oh, okay. No, we don't need anybody else running against Kevin.
I think he owns properties in both.
Okay.
If his main property, though, is in District 4, then in 2 years, absolutely, I will put all of my money and resources into backing him to take out Plummer, because I'm about done. I've played nice.
Oh, gosh, it's hard to play nice with those guys. They never give up. I've never seen anybody like he and Long who can just argue and argue and argue, and they'll think for 10 seconds and they've got another angle.
Well, did you read his recap when Ben got arrested?
Yes.
And maybe I took offense because I was the speaker that was so-called attacking him, right? But I've been having conversations with him about this type of stuff. He's my supervisor. I'm allowed to ask him questions.
Sure.
And if he is defending Ben's actions as standing up for him when somebody was attacking him, and he later tells me, oh, no, I was disavowing his
Well, he's a professional excuse maker.
behavior.
He's a professional excuse maker.
Yeah. It sure sounded like you were defending him. It didn't sound like you were saying you don't agree with him.
Yes.
So I had a lot of respect for him. I thought even though he obviously, in his previous companies and stuff, proved he obviously has some left-leaning big government influence.
Some.
I was
little bit.
I was trying to give him the benefit of the doubt because I think that the God that I serve, the God that many of us claim to serve, is a big God who is more powerful than any of these entities. And so I was trying to appeal to the fact that he's this God-fearing Christian man with kids and thinking, you know, if maybe he just hasn't seen the red pill, taken the red pill. Maybe if it was exposed to him, the dangers of big government in the future of our kids, he'd come around. And there were conversations where I thought he would, but the hope is less and less.
It is my opinion that he and Alan Long especially are of the opinion that we're smarter than you, we know what's best for you, and we're going to do what's best for you whether you like it or not. And
Yeah.
that's what we've been stuck with all phases of government for a long time. We finally turned it around here in Shasta County. Another thing that really irritated me about Alan Long, and you can go watch on the videos if you want to, is he subliminally is campaigning for Joanna Francescott.
Is he subliminally? Because I think he was all but wearing a billboard this week.
Well, the thing is, you know, I liked Joanna, and I stuck up for her. And I said, you know, she has the opportunity when Tom Toller was going to run the election of 2022, I believe it was, maybe it was a 2024, to show us how she would run the campaign, the ROV office. And she did. It was the same old, same old. And they deliberately made it as hard to observe what's going on as they possibly could. And boy, I'm of the opinion we don't want her in there for damn sure. And I believe that Clint Curtis is doing a good job. And he goes and explains, shows the public how he's running the office, and these people turn it around that he's campaigning against Joanna.
Yeah.
It's just pathetic.
So same
Where
as
can
you.
they find that?
It's on Mountaintop. We did a live feed where we followed him through. So if you go to Mountaintop Media's Facebook page, there is a live feed where we followed him through the office and listened to his demonstration. Also, Lewis Herms went through, if you want the version without all the agitators in it, Lewis Herms did one and put it out on all of his social media pages. That is just, I think it's 12 minutes.
Yes.
And it's start to finish where the ballots come in all the way through processing. And it even shows the video of them being flipped through. And that is without all the agitators. If you watch the live feed of the day that they're claiming he electioneered or whatever, that one's probably about an hour and a half. But I told him yesterday at the meeting, I'll send it to you. And I'm going to go in and I'm going to enhance the audio so they can hear exactly what he said. And I'm going to clip that section and send it to every supervisor, every county staff,
Send it to me also, please.
Okay.
Is it the same agitators that show up at every supervisor's meeting that have to talk on every subject
Yep.
and attack Kevin Cry?
They were all failed recall proponents. So, yeah, there's one, and I can't remember his name, but when you watch the video, he's wearing a green sweater, and his face gets about as red as the flag behind you. And you see him, and he, like, builds up, amps up, and then he goes, well, when I was here, this isn't what happened. Well, when I was here, you know, and you see his face get redder and redder, and he just kept poking until Clint said Joanna, right? Like, because Clint was very clear. This process will keep this from happening. Well, did that ever happen?
Yeah.
Yes, in my opinion, it did happen. That's asked and answered.
Well,
That
it
is-
doesn't matter whether it did happen or not. We're going to prevent it from happening. That's
Right.
preventive medicine is what that is.
And when Alan Long says it is the same and to be compared to the electioneering that was happening with DA Bridget,
yes.
it's
There's
not
no comparison.
It's not even apples and oranges. It's apples and Teslas. Like they're not even in the same category,
Yes.
right? She has whistleblowers from her office saying they were ordered to work on her campaign. She has timestamps of people arguing with constituents while in office. And we have, 22,000 cases
Yes.
that fell behind, and people who are not getting their constitutional right to a speedy trial because her being reelected was more important.
And a lot of cases got dropped because she chose to, in my opinion, what I've been told, she chose to campaign instead of doing her job.
Right. Well,
You know, another thing about Alan Long and subliminally campaigning for Joanna, his wife is a lawyer that represents, I believe, numerous counties, but represents Trinity County. And guess who got a job with Trinity County making $25,000 a year? Joanna. I don't know what her position is over there. Maybe it's just to, I don't
think
know.
it's like an election consultant.
Yes, yes, and you know, it just to me it smells. It doesn't pass the smell test.
You were dropping all kinds of truth bombs yesterday. What did you have for breakfast?
Boy, I don't know. What did I have? I had 2 cores and a dill pickle. That's a man's breakfast.
I thought you were going to say just a handful of John's multivitamins. You were on it.
Liberty Labs, they're
Yes.
they're very good vitamins. I've been using them, and I can feel the difference. You know, Robert at the city council
Oh,
meeting.
man. Facts matter, right? Like, I could not help myself.
Go ahead and explain that.
Oh, man. Robert said, oh, yeah, if you
Something
don't.
about nepotism.
Yeah, if you don't know him, you're lucky. So he gets up there and they have a nepotism policy on the consent agenda, or, it was one of those things that we weren't really going to spend a bunch of time on. And he gets up there and gives a very, very vague, I agree because I don't think that people should be appointing their husbands.
Articulate but vague.
Yeah. Yeah. It was passionate. It was very passionate because here's the thing. And here's where my first couple interactions with Robert Sid happened. He is the biggest cheerleader for Aaron Resner.
Oh, yes.
Oh, he thinks I'm just going to, lay down the red carpet as she walks by. So he thinks he's going to get these brownie points going up there to throw somebody else under the bus. So the council starts pushing. Who are you talking about? What are you talking about? What are you insinuating? Because there were no facts. And he goes, well, I don't know. It was a previous thing. Okay. Who? Well, Tanessa. Tanessa? It was Tanessa? And she goes, me? She goes, actually, Aaron appointed my husband before I was on the council, and his term was over before I got on. And she said, in fact, our nepotism policy is in full effect because my daughter, for 2 years, volunteered for a city organization through Parks and Rec.
Because she couldn't get paid, because she's my daughter.
Right, but she had volunteered for 2 years before she could have got paid and had to continue doing it on a volunteer basis because out of all the teenagers in the county, she doesn't qualify because her mom's on the council.
Yes.
Like, and
If that was me, I wouldn't go to a meeting for a couple of months.
did you see how he sulked out of the room?
Well, I kind of jumped on him before you got there. He got up there and told Anuka how ridiculous it was to try and get a medical college into Shasta County, and that Kevin Cry is just wasting county money trying to get a medical college in here.
Yeah.
And things could be better spent and blah, blah, blah. So I got up there and I told Danuka, I said, keep pushing. I said, this medical college will bring in so many satellite businesses. It'll be a boom to Shasta County, and Redding will hitchhike on that boom. It'll be a boom to all of us, which it will. And then I suggested they create an ad hoc committee and put Robert in charge of it to attract new business or new doctors here. He might even come up with a new chicken wing restaurant or a Mexican restaurant to get him here.
You had the whole crowd laughing.
Yeah, that's a good deal.
I think even some of the council members. Well, that is our time for today. You got anything else for us? Pearls of wisdom before we...
Just this one last one. Everybody's pissing and moaning about Trump bringing inflation on. Here's inflation from Biden's term in office, Mr. Signature Signer. Overall inflation during his administration was 20.1%. Home prices, it was 35.3%. Mortgage price was 148%. Gas prices went up 46%. That's regular. Food prices 21.5%. So when you start complaining about President Trump's inflation rate, take this into consideration.
Right. You know, and I was listening to a speech he did when he was in Michigan, and he goes, this is up, this is up, this is up, this is up. We're the number one country in the world again, and we're doing terrible. You know, like it sounds so positive, but he's like, we're falling apart. We still need a lot of work and a lot of help. And I love that, because Biden would have been like, this is down, this is down, this is down, this is down, but it's the greatest thing ever. We're hugely successful.
You know, one thing I will bring up before we go, I brought it up on Right Side of the News last time. In fact, this next Sunday, Kevin Cry's going to take both time slots, 2 hours. He's going to have the sheriff on and the head of Arch Collab. No, it's not
No,
Arch.
it's the men's reentry program.
Something, a majigger. It'll be worth listening to. But I did bring up that I saw a clip. The final reason, the main reason we went into Venezuela was to keep Venezuela from invading Guyana, because Guyana has the largest oil deposits, or a ton of big oil deposits, and Venezuela is claiming historically ownership of it, and they were getting ready to avoid, and that, in fact, Trump avoided World War III by doing that. World War III on our hemisphere. So we'll leave you with that. Thanks for tuning in. Shop Taylor Motors and Jefferson State Diesel, and we all need vitamins. LibertyLabs.com/